Hey everybody, TKO's here. This video I'm going to pull Hissabeth on Reverse 1999. I don't know everything about her kit, but I kind of like the Snake Medusa kind of look to her, so I'm going to pull her anyway. We'll see what we get, and then I'll read her kit afterward. And I did lose my last 50-50, I believe, so I should get her on my first 6-star, and we'll see what happens. I think that's a 5-star animation. Yeah. Okay. I think she's a solid support. I haven't used her a whole lot yet. I don't know anything about him. He's a new character. So look at him real quick. A buff, mass buff, damage dealt plus 20% and damage healed 20% for all allies for 2 rounds. So increased damage and increased healing. And 25, 25, 35, 35. Mass attack deals 120 mental damage to 2 enemies. 160 mental damage to 2 enemies and counters and dispels all counter statuses from targets. So that'll be good if you're facing Jay or maybe New Babel, but especially Jay. Dispel his counter is really good. And then 300 mental damage and dispels counter. Okay, that's ultimate. Is Etched in Stone mass buff grants ultimate damage plus 50% to all allies for 3 rounds. Grants an aim to the adjacent ally in front for 2 rounds. And when casting an ultimate, no AP is consumed. I think AP is action points, so basically if you're using an ultimate, you get an extra AP, you get to use an extra card to the one ally in front of him. I don't know if there's any who could really spam the ultimate like 2 or 3 times in a row, but that could be very beneficial. Insight. I have 1 insight. After taking action, grant 2 stacks of ceremonies to the adjacent ally in front. And insight level 2. Damage taken negative 8% when the caster enters battle. So just a little bit more survivability. And insight 3. When the adjacent ally in front casts an ultimate named day, gains Moxie plus 1. Okay, so it looks like the ally in front casts an ultimate, he gains Moxie, which gives him the ability to cast his ultimate faster, and I think you're supposed to kind of ult spam the 2. I believe that's how he's supposed to be used by looking at his kit. Okay. Summon again. So that's nothing good. Or no 5 or 6 stars. Alright. I think I might be started with 10 into it. So I think I'm 40 into this next pity. So this one will be 50, if I'm correct. This will be 60. Another name day. Alright, I think I'm 60. I'm going to go single pools just so I can kind of, if I can get her, it'll be easier to keep track of my pities. I think this is the 6-star, if I'm correct. take a look at her kit. Hissabeth. Self-buff, consume 2 stacks of Snake's Den at the end of the round. Generate 2 copies. Consume 2 stacks of Snake's Den, period. At the end of the round, generate 2 copies of rank 1 Hiss that do not take up the allied incantation limit. If there aren't enough stacks of Snake's Den, gain 1 additional Moxie. Okay, so either consuming Snake's Den or gaining Moxie. Snake's Den is a place where the siblings nestle. This status can stack up to 8 times and is undispellable. At the start of the round, this unit adjusts the stacks of Snake's Den on the self so that the combined total of Snake's Den, Serpentine Scales, and Hiss on the field equals 8. So if I'm reading that correctly, you're going to consume 2 Snake's Den, and then you have a chance of getting Serpentine Scales or Hiss instead. Okay, Serpentine Scales at the end of the round take 50% plus number of stacks times 20% Hissabeth's attack Genesis damage. This effect can critically hit and benefits from ultimate might bonuses. After each trigger of this effect, 1 stack of Serpentine Scales is converted into 1 stack of Snake's Den and granted to Hissabeth. When the holder of the status dies, the remaining stacks of Serpentine Scales are transferred onto the ally with the highest attack. This status can stack up to 8 times and is undispellable. Okay. We'll see what Hiss is in a minute, I think. Mass attack deals 120% mental damage to 2 enemies and deals an additional 60% mental damage to targets holding the Serpentine Scale status. Okay, so this is a debuff. I wasn't exactly sure, but it'll be a debuff, and it does extra Genesis damage based on Hissabeth's attack, plus a number of stacks, which could be why you're consuming the other one, because that could in turn apply more Serpentine Scales. And the same mechanic. Wait a minute. Okay, so it's 120 mental damage plus an additional 60% to targets with Serpentine. This one's 180 plus an additional 100% mental damage to targets with Serpentine. Then it goes to rank 3 is 300 and 150. So you want your targets to be with the Serpentine Scale debuff. Experimental Rocketry. Sorry, I can't read today. Mass attack deals 500% mental damage to all enemies. When hitting a target, the Genesis damage taken by the target at the end of the round from each stack of Serpentine Scales increased from 20% to 70%. And at the end of the round, convert all Serpentine Scales into an equivalent number of copies of rank 1 Hiss. Hiss is a single target attack, deals 50, 100, 250% mental damage, inflicts 1, 2, 4 stacks of Serpentine Scales and gains 0, 1, 2 Moxie. This effect counts as an ultimate and does not consume AP. So it's it's a mass attack, 500 damage. It increases the Genesis damage from Serpentine Scales. And then it converts Serpentine Scales into equivalent number of copies of Hiss. And Hiss will in turn inflict mental damage and inflict stacks of Serpentine Scales. So you're consuming Serpentine Scales to get Hiss, and Hiss is going to go back and inflict Serpentine Scales. So it seems like it's kind of a never-ending cycle, hopefully if you're fast enough. Serpentine Scales doing the Genesis damage, and Hiss inflicting Serpentine Scales. And then hopefully also gaining Moxie to help get your ultimate back, if I'm understanding that correctly. We'll have to play around with it a little bit. Right. When entering battle, rank 1, reach Insight 1. When entering battle, gain 8 stacks of Snake's Den at the start of the round if holding at least 1 stack of Snake's Den on self. Consume 1 stack of Snake's Den and generate a copy of rank 1 Hiss. This effect can trigger up to 1 time per round. Hiss and this unit's ultimates do not take up allied incantation limit. If I remember correctly, I'll go back and double check. Hiss does not use AP either. If we double check this one. Yeah, this effect counts as ultimate and does not consume AP. So that's kind of free damage and then inflicting Serpentine Scales again. Okay. Insight 2, damage dealt plus 8% when the caster enters battle, so that's nice. Insight 3, when attacking an enemy that's holding Serpentine Scales, Hissabeth inflicts rigidity on the target and gains 1 additional Moxie. Triggers up to 1 time per round, so that's going to help generate her ultimate faster. And if I remember, rigidity, 2 stacks of rigidity turns into Petrify. Yep. Okay, 2 stacks will either turn into Petrify status or extend the duration of existing Petrify status for another round. So she is based around her ultimate use. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to level her up soon. What I do want to do, I've always kind of wanted Argus. I don't have her, and I just used my basically my 50-50 pity. I'm gonna pull 10 just see if I get lucky, and if not, that's okay. It'll go carry over to the next one. So we'll see what happens, see if I can get lucky. And I think that's 5-star. Yep. Okay. Alright, that's it for this video. Gonna have to level up Hissabeth, play around with her, see how she does. So thanks everybody for joining me. Good luck with the rules, and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section.